Warning, the following is how I decided to remove the SRA Fast Chip molten solder from the pins of the chip so I can reuse it in the future. This is not supported by SRA. Do this at your own risk.
Now some people may actually choose to want to use the chip they just removed off of that PCB. In this case, you can take your soldering iron and drag it across all the pins. So here's the chip. You'll see it's got quite a bit of flux on both sides. And it actually has the chip removal alloy bridging all the pins, including a dog hair that somehow has gotten in there. Let's go ahead and remove that. There we go. Now, this was quite challenging at first when I first thought about how do we use the chip if we want to reuse the chip. Well, first I'm going to actually clean off some of that flux. And the following that I'm about to show you is not in the instructions and probably not recommended by SRA-Solder for the people that actually sell and distribute this Fast Chip SMT alloy removal kit. But it was a challenge, so I had to accept my own challenge. And in doing so, I came up with a way to remove the alloy from the chip in a very nice, clean fashion. As I mentioned, maybe you want to reuse the chip. Some people do, some people don't. Depends. But what I'm going to do here is put my wrist strap back on, because I took it off to adjust the camera there a second ago. And while wearing a pair of safety glasses, that's actually very important. I'll take off my magnifying glasses and we'll put the safety glasses on. You can actually pick the chip up see if we can get this centered a little better. There we go. And sometimes just heating up the alloy and dragging your soldering iron underneath the pins will remove the alloy. And sometimes you can even hold it at an angle and all the alloy will come down and gather into a single corner. What happens is though, usually you have about the last 3 or 4 pins still bridged because of that blob that gathered down into that bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this alloy up again. I'm going to drag across the pins. And you want to be careful not to push on the pins. You're just heating up that alloy. Same thing when removing the chip. You don't want to push down on the pins. So now we have this nice and hot molten alloy. I'm going to put my soldering iron away and grab a can of air and blow all the molten solder onto, in this case, static proof bag. Let's go ahead and turn the chip around. We'll do the same thing to the other side. I'm going over the alloy about 4 times, back and forth. Make sure it reaches a nice temperature, but not too hot. You don't want to raise the temperature of your package and damage the chip itself. And a can of air. So let's go ahead and look at the finished results under the microscope again. There we go. Close enough. So you can see all the solder and the molten has been removed and we have perfectly clean pins here. Really nice clean pins. And the same thing with the other side. We still have a little trace of flux. I tried to clean the flux off ahead of time by using some rubbing alcohol. But in the end, there was still some flux in the actual alloy and solder mixed. So that came back out. So you need to clean the chip again afterwards and remove that flux. But after you remove that flux, you should be okay. We have very nice, clean chips. And I can't seem to get a better focus on that. Sorry guys. Really need to buy a better microscope. What can I say? But you can tell there's no bridged pins there at all. That definitely cleaned off 100%. And again, I caution you to be very careful if you decide to clean the solder off your pins this way, or the low melt fast chip alloy. If you decide to clean that off your pins this way, be very careful. Definitely wear safety glasses, and when you hit it with a can of air, make sure it's blowing away from you and you have something underneath to catch it, like a plastic bag, a trash can, whatever the case is, your electronic bucket. That'll work too. But in this case, I'm very happy with the results. Well, thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe and you'll be notified when I actually release the next video. And if you did like this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up and keep on building.